Hi everyone, I appreciate that you took the time to join my session today. I'm Evan Fasinger, the Vice President of Online Marketing at Foremost Media. We are a full service online and marketing and web development company. You can tell by my accent, we're actually located in Wisconsin. If you didn't know before, you probably heard it there. Foremost since 2004, and I personally have been doing online marketing for about 10 years. And when I first started in online marketing and specifically search engine optimization, we, for lack of a better word, just gamed the search engines into ranking our pages higher. So this meant keyword stuffing, buying backlinks, and other tricks that will now just lead to your website being completely removed from the search engines, quite frankly. So, so as the search engines have evolved, and they have come a long way. I mean, we as search engine optimization specialists, we had to evolve as well. And if you think about how massive of a company Google actually is, which is almost $90 billion in revenue last time I checked, the core of their business is being a search engine. The entire responsibility of a search engine is to provide the most relevant answers to all of your questions. This means that when you're Googling the proper etiquette for boring speech, for example, their algorithm is checking hundreds of factors and analyzing over a billion websites to make sure you could find how to act if that should ever happen to you. Now, the results that are displayed and organized in what we refer to as the search engine results pages, or SERPs. These pages are online battlefield where everyone is competing for position and clicks to thousands of searches around any key terms. So do actually mean by search engine optimization is now that this may be a little bit more introductory type of a question, but it's something that I'm asked on a regular basis, even from our clients, right? And those are ones that have been clients for years. And I guess that's probably one of the benefits of providing great results is that you're not really questioned too much on what you're doing as long as getting what they want. But what we are doing is working on growing the organic visibility of your website on the search engines. This means we aren't paying to have your website show higher. We're using both technical and creative elements to improve your rankings. So how do we do that? Well, that's a complicated question. From having the right words on the page with the right backlink profile to how your site is structured. There are hundreds of ranking factors in between. There isn't any way that we could cover every aspect in just this presentation today. We're just optimization. And something I didn't realize early in my career is that most developers just simply don't care about search engine optimization. It's generally thought of as an after development process. However, it's really a flawed approach. Web development and search engine optimization, they should not be separate processes. The user experience of your website doesn't matter if there aren't any users to find it. Not considering the SEO implications of your web development can have a devastating impact on the business. On the highest of levels, a website that is structured properly for search engine optimization is one that allows search engines to easily explore and analyze all of the pages on your website. It's a website that works and dances with the web crawler and leads them instead of just pushing them away. Now, this requires careful planning and can be especially complicated for e-commerce websites. However, relying on the fundamentals can help make your search engine optimization counterparts happy and your clients or bosses even happier. Now, to start this dance off right, you need to make sure that your website is able to be understood by the crawlers. This starts with allowing them to access your protocol standard, otherwise known as the robots.txt file. Now, this text file tells the web robots which pages on your site to crawl. Equally important, they also tell them which pages not to crawl. Now, the Googlebot, for example, has what is known as a crawl budget. Many e-commerce sites have a lot of pages, and using the robot's text file to your advantage allows you to help the Googlebot spend its crawl budget for your site on the most valuable pages. In addition to the robot's text file, you should also provide the search engines with a roadmap to the important content on your website. This is done by creating an XML sitemap and submitting it to Google in your Search Console. But just submitting your XML sitemap to Google doesn't mean that they're automatically going to index your pages. Google also has to consider them worthy of indexing from a quality standpoint. Now, while web robots are continuing to evolve and are even beginning to understand Ajax, the main content on your website should be text-based. This doesn't mean it look like a term paper. You can and you should have an aesthetically appealing site that engages your audience with visuals, but the text on the pages is what the search engines and also your visitors are going to be analyzing. So to continue dancing with the web crawler past your homepage, you need to. Internal links are the links on your site that go to within your website. Now, internal links allow you to establish your site architecture, and it spreads what we refer to as link juice throughout your site. Now, although link juice might sound delicious, it's actually referring to the value or equity passed from one page to another. So your website can gain link juice by having other websites linked to it. Google sees every link to your website as a vote, but not everyone's vote is the same. Links from authoritative websites are much more beneficial than those with little domain authority. In fact, low authority and spammy links to your website can lead to Google de-indexing your website from the search engine results. Now, the first step to establishing a solid site structure is to create a hierarchy of your pages. Item on many web development projects is often overlooked, but it's incredibly important. This hierarchy becomes your navigation and your URL structure. Everything on your website is either helped or hindered by how you organize your pages and content. Now, this process should be thought about logically and not overcomplicated. You should limit the amount of main categories on your hierarchy and aim for if you find yourself with more than 8 main categories, you're most likely overcomplicating your site hierarchy and you should reevaluate. A proper site hierarchy allows for a predictable URL structure. This predictable URL structure helps your users and search engines. Now, we want to have static URLs in a logical folder structure with descriptive keywords. Although dynamic URLs are common in e-commerce platforms and search engines can crawl them, you aren't fully optimizing your site for both a user and a search experience with them. In an e-commerce environment, in many cases, can lead to multiple URLs that lead to the same content. Now, not only is that duplicate content a major issue with search engines, we also covered link juice earlier, right? So we know that we're also diluting the ranking power of that product or page by spreading it across multiple URLs. Now, you can help Google consolidate those pages by specifying a canonical URL. Now, this will allow ranking power to funnel into one single URL. You should always choose the cleanest URL structure to be the canonical because it will be the one served up on the search engine result pages. Now, of course, it's much easier to create hierarchy and structure when you're creating a new website, but it's also important when redesigning. But changing the URL structure on your site during a redesign can have a devastating effect on your rankings if not done properly. Whenever you change the URL structure of your pages, you must also create a 301 redirect from the old URL to the new URL. Not setting a 301 redirect to the new URL is the same as moving without notifying the post office. The postman will soon realize that you're no longer living at your home, but without a forwarding address, they will have nowhere to send the mail. Just like the postman, Google will quickly determine that that page no longer exists, and when they end up at a page not found error, it's going to lead them to being removed from the search engine result pages. Now, all of the links going to that site and all of the SEO ranking power that you've built up over the years is gone. A 301 redirect is a permanent redirect that will take the search engine to the updated URL. Not only will the search engine page, but this type of redirect will also transfer the inbound links from the redirected to the new one. Without this step in place, I can almost guarantee your website redesign will lead to a decrease in traffic. Even big brands have made this mistake. Toys R Us is cautionary tale for 301 redirects among search engine optimization professionals. And that's because in 2009, the company purchased Toys.com for $5.1 million. Their plan was to build up their SEO authority, but instead they launched their new website without putting in 301 redirects. This led to Google re-indexing, losing all of their search engine rankings. And also, when we're doing a redesign, we want to make sure that's going to be a ranking factor for Google right now. They want to make sure that ever since Mobilegeddon was what it was called, that it be all of a sudden became a ranking indicator for a website. And when we say responsive design, that means that it's able to display properly on mobile, tablet, regardless of the screen size. Page speed, it's always been important to the user, but now using page speed as a signal for ranking pages. Enable compression, minimize CSS, JavaScript, and HTML. Leverage browser cache, serve up server-scaled images, and making sure that your site is hosted in an ideal environment can all play a role in page speed. Now, proper search engine optimization from a web development perspective shouldn't stop at the site structure. The on-site optimization of the individual pages are also required. Title tags, they are the second most important on-page factor for SEO, the actual content being first. Not only do they help search engines understand what your page is about, they are also the first thing searchers see on the results. Titles should be less than 60 characters long and unique to every page. Now, meta descriptions, these should provide a concise summary of the content on your website. While these are not directly tied to your search engine rankings, they are necessary to getting visitors to click from search engine results to your site. And click-through rates have a strong impact on your search engine rankings. So good meta descriptions require strong copywriting skills. There is some debate going on right now in terms of the length. Google recently, because of featured snippets, is starting to provide over 300 characters, when before we always recommended less than 160 characters. A lot of that is being pulled in dynamically, though. So one thing to just keep clear of is to make sure that your duplicate meta descriptions are avoided. Now, image alt tags. Every image on your site should have an alt tag that describes what the image is. Google places a relatively high value on the alt text for the images to not only determine what is on the image, but also the topics surrounding the text. Now, on a side note, this is also important for visually impaired site visitors because the alt tag is what's used by screen readers. Now, header tags, while commonly used primarily for design purposes, they're still an important ranking factor for optimization. These should still be designed for consistency, right, and stand out from the rest of the content, but use their SEO power and have them describe the pages on the content with keywords. And you should not have any duplicate H1 tags. Now, on-site optimization also plays into a part with schema markup. And although it's underutilized, but it's becoming increasingly important. Schema markup is code that you place on your website to help search engines provide more information to their visitors. Now, this gives you the opportunity to tell the search engine what your data actually means, not just what it says. So for your e-commerce sites, this means being the product, price, and status, and even offer information within the search engine results. Now, as you can see from the small portion that we've covered today, search engine optimization is an integral part of website development. If you approach the optimization of your site with the development, you can start to see dramatic returns for your clients. This doesn't mean that you have to become a search engine optimization specialist as a web developer, but the earlier you bring in those members from your team,